You've been grinding LeetCode for months. You're spending 4 hours a day solving problems. You've watched every LeetCode video. You've read Cracking the Coding interview cover to cover. And yet you still can't solve a medium problem without Googling the solution. Here's the brutal truth. You're not failing because you're not smart enough. You're failing because you're studying the wrong things. LeetCode has 2,000 plus problems, and you've been told that you need to master 2D dynamic programming, red-black trees, and the list keeps growing. So you're drowning. You're exhausted, and you still don't feel ready. Every hour you waste grinding the wrong stuff is an hour you could have spent actually getting good at what matters. Your peers, who already know this, are landing offers while you're burning out on LeetCode Medium 847. So let me show you what nobody's telling you. You don't need 2,000 problems. You don't need 50 data structures. You need 8. And according to data from 10,000 plus LeetCode submissions, 87% of accepted solutions use one of 8 core patterns. That means if you master these 8, you can solve 9 out of 10 problems faster than people who have done 2,000. And today, I'm breaking down all 8. What they are, why they matter, and the exact patterns they unlock. And by the end of this video, you'll finally feel like interview prep is manageable, and you'll have a clear roadmap instead of drowning in random problems. Now, quick background. My name is Aman. I've landed 6 software engineering internships at companies like Amazon, Shopify, and HP, and also graduated with multiple 6-figure offers. And since then, I've helped over 400 students land offers at top tech companies through my program, the Software Engineering Accelerator. But here's the thing, I didn't always know this stuff. I had to learn it the hard way. Now, before we get into the 8 data structures, you need to understand why you're stuck in this trap in the first place. See, LeetCode has over 2,000 problems, LeetCode has over 150, AlgoExpert has curated lists, and if you Google best data structures for interviews, you'll find articles listing 30, 40, sometimes 50 different structures you supposedly need to know. So you do what every rational person would do. You try to learn them all. Arrays, linked lists, stacks, queues, heaps, tries, AVL trees, red-black trees, B trees, segment trees, Fenwick trees. And 6 months later, you're exhausted, confused, and still not passing interviews. Here's the thing. Interviews aren't testing if you memorize 2,000 solutions. They're testing if you can recognize patterns. According to real interview data, analyzing hundreds of coding interviews at top tech companies, roughly 80% of interview questions can be solved using pattern recognition from just a handful of core data structures. This isn't just my observation. Analysis of thousands of LeetCode problems shows that arrays and hash tables alone account for over 1,600 tagged problems. When you add in other core structures, you're covering the vast majority of what companies actually ask. But here's where it gets worse. Most candidates don't fail because they don't know what a binary tree is. They fail because they don't recognize when to use a binary tree. They don't see the pattern. And that's because they're spending all their time learning about data structures instead of learning how to recognize which problem each structure solves. Think about it like this. You can read 50 books about basketball, you can memorize every play in the NBA, but if you've never actually played basketball, you're gonna freeze when someone throws you a ball. And that's what's happening with LeetCode. Let me tell you what happened to me. I spent 6 months grinding LeetCode, over 100 problems, 4 hours a day. I had spreadsheets, I had trackers, I had every LeetCode video bookmarked, and I still failed my meta interview. The interviewer asked me a medium problem. Longest substring without repeating characters. I had literally solved it before, but I froze. I couldn't recognize it was a sliding window problem. And that's when it clicked. I'd been memorizing solutions, not learning patterns. So I stopped. I went back to the basics. I identified 8 structures that showed up again and again and again, and I drilled the patterns for each one. A few months later, I interviewed at Amazon, got the offer, same problems, different approach. You're reading about data structures, you're watching solution videos, and you're memorizing approaches, but you're not training pattern recognition. And pattern recognition is the only skill that matters in interviews. So here's what we're gonna do instead. I'm going to show you the 8 core data structures, and more importantly, I'm going to show you the patterns each one unlocks. Not theory, not textbook definitions, just when you see X type of problem, reach for Y data structure. That's the unlock. And once you see the pattern, you'll recognize it in 50 plus different LeetCode problems. That's how you go from grinding 2,000 problems to mastering 8 structures and solving hundreds. Let's get into it. Data structure number 1, arrays. And before you say, duh, everybody knows arrays, most people are using them wrong in interviews. Here's what matters. Arrays show up in roughly 40% of all coding interview questions, either directly or as components of other problems. But it's not about knowing what an array is, it's about recognizing the 3 core patterns that arrays unlock. Pattern number 1 is two-pointer. You've got 2 indices moving through an array, either from opposite ends or at different speeds. This solves problems like finding pairs that sum to a target, removing duplicates, or reversing sections of an array. Classic example are two-sum on a sorted array. Instead of nested loops at O of n squared time, you use 2 pointers starting at opposite ends and move them based on the current sum, O of n time. Pattern 2 is sliding window. You maintain a window of elements and slide it across the array, adjusting the window size based on problem constraints. This is your go-to for subarray problems. Example is longest subarray without repeating characters. Instead of checking every possible substring, which would be O of n squared, you slide a window and track characters you've seen. O of n time. Pattern 3 is prefix sum. You pre-compute cumulative sums so you can answer range queries in constant time. Sounds fancy, but it's just storing running totals. An example is subarray sum equals k. You build a prefix sum array and use a hash map to find subarrays that match the target sum. Now, once you see these 3 patterns, you'll recognize them in 100+ different array problems. That's the unlock. It's not about memorizing solutions, it's about pattern recognition. Now, arrays are powerful, but there's one problem they can't solve efficiently: fast lookups. If you need to check does an element exist in an array, you're stuck with O of n time scanning through the whole thing, unless you use the second structure. Number 2, hash maps, or hash tables, dictionaries, same thing. If arrays show up in 40% of problems, hash maps show up in about 30%. They're your best friend for optimization. See, hash maps give you O of 1 average time lookups. That's a superpower. Every time you see a problem that says find X, count Y, or check if Z exists, your first instinct should be, can I use a hash map? Now, here are the 3 core patterns. Pattern number 1 is frequency counting. Count how many times each element appears. The classic use case is finding duplicates, finding the most common element, or checking if 2 strings are anagrams. So an example here is valid anagram. Instead of sorting both strings, which would be O of n log n, you count character frequencies in hash map, O of n time. Pattern 2 is fast lookups. So you can store elements you've seen so you can check for existence in constant time. An example is two-sum on an unsorted array. As you iterate, store each number in a hash map. For each new number, check if target minus current number exists in the map. O of n time, 1 pass. Pattern 3 is caching/memoization. You want to store computed results to avoid redundant work. This shows up in dynamic programs all the time. An example is Fibonacci with memoization. Instead of recalculating the same subproblems, which would be exponential time, you cache results in a hash map, O of n time. Hash maps are your optimization tool. If your brute force solution has nested loops, you want to ask yourself, could I trade space for time with a hash map? 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. But here's the thing about hash maps. They're amazing at lookups, but terrible at maintaining order. If you need to process elements in a specific sequence, especially if that sequence involves nesting or matching pairs, you'll need something different. And that's where the third structure comes in. Number 3, stacks. Stacks follow last in, first out, LIFO. Think of a stack of plates. The last plate you put it on top is the first one you take out. Stacks are perfect for problems that involve order, nesting, or reversal. And here are the 2 core patterns. Pattern 1 is valid parentheses/matching pairs. So anytime you see brackets, parentheses, or tags that need to be matched, use a stack. An example, valid parentheses. As you scan the string, push opening brackets onto the stack. When you hit a closing bracket, pop from the stack and check if it matches. If the stack is empty at the end, it's valid. Pattern 2, monotonic stack. This is a stack where elements are always sorted, either increasing or decreasing. It's used for next greatest element problems. So an example on this one is called daily temperatures. For each day, find the next warmest day. Instead of a nested loop, O of n squared, use a monotonic stack to track indices, O of n time. If you see a problem involving nested structures or find the next X, think stack. Sure, it's not obvious at first, but once you solve 5 to 10 stack problems, you'll start seeing this pattern everywhere. Now, stacks process elements in reverse order, last in, first out. What if you need to process elements in the exact order they arrive? What if you need to explore a tree level by level or find the shortest path in a graph? That's when you reach structure number 4. Number 4, queues. Queues follow first in, first out, or FIFO. Think of a line at Starbucks. The first person in the line is the first person served. Queues are your go-to for level order processing and breadth first search, or BFS. Here are the 2 core patterns. Pattern 1, BFS on trees. When you need to process a tree level by level, use a queue. An example is binary tree level order traversal. So you start with the root of the queue. For each node, you add its children to the queue, process nodes level by level, O of n time. Pattern 2 is BFS on graphs. So same idea. When you need to find the shortest path or explore layer by layer, use a queue. An example is shortest path in a grid. So start at the source, add neighbors to the queue, and explore outward. BFS guarantees you find the shortest path. So if the problem mentions shortest path, level order, or layer by layer, reach for a queue. It's that simple. Okay, so we've covered arrays, hash maps, stacks, and queues. All of these operate on collections of data. But there's one structure that's unique because it's not about how you store data, it's about how you connect data. That's structure number 5. Now, before we go into the remaining structures and patterns that you need to solve the rest of coding interviews and master DSA without solving thousands of problems, a big problem people face is, sure, you know all this information, you know the right patterns, data structures, LeetCode problems, but you have no accountability and no direction. And that's exactly why I created the Software Engineering Accelerator. We connect FANG engineers and recruiters to work directly with you to make sure your LeetCode skills are in tip-top shape and that you can pass almost every technical interview. So if you're interested in working directly with a Meta engineer, Amazon engineer, Google engineer, or Microsoft engineer to master all of this stuff, check out the top link in the description. Number 5, linked lists. Linked lists are chains of nodes where each node points to the next one. Unlike arrays, they don't require continuous memory. Linked lists show up less frequently than arrays or hash maps, but when they do, interviewers love testing 2 specific patterns. Now here are the 2 core patterns. Pattern 1, fast and slow pointer, or Floyd cycle detection. You want to use 2 pointers, one moving twice as fast as the other. This detects cycles or finds the middle of a list. An example is linked list cycle. Fast pointer moves 2 steps, slow pointer moves 1 step, and if they meet, there's a cycle. O of n time, O of unspace. Another example is find middle of linked list. Fast pointer moves 2 steps, slow moves 1. When fast reaches the end, slow is at the middle. Pattern 2 is reversal. The classic reverse a linked list, or reverse a section of it. This comes up all the time. So to reverse a linked list, you'll want to iterate through the list, reversing pointers as you go, O of n time, O of 1 space. Now a variation of this is reverse nodes in K group. You want to reverse every K nodes. It's the same reversal logic, just applied in chunks. Now, like I said earlier, linked lists aren't as common as arrays, but when they show up, it's almost always one of those 2 patterns. So master fast and slow pointer in reversal and you're golden. Now, linked lists are linear. One node points to the next in a straight line. But what if you need to represent hierarchical data? What if you need parent-child relationships or you're dealing with nested structures? That's when you move on to structure number 6. Number 6, trees, specifically binary trees. Trees are hierarchical structures where each node has a child node. Binary trees mean each node has at most 2 children. Trees show up in about 15 to 20% of interviews, and there were a lot of candidates freeze. But here's the secret. Almost every tree problem uses the same 3 traversal patterns. Here are the core patterns. Pattern 1 is depth first search, or DFS, recursive. You visit a node, then you recursively visit its left and right children. This is your bread and butter for tree problems. So an example is maximum depth of binary tree. You want to recursively find the max depth of the left subtree and the right subtree and return the max plus 1. The variations here are pre-order, in-order, post-order traversal. Same DFS logic, just a different order of operations. Pattern 2 is depth first search. DFS, iterative with stack. So it's the same as recursive DFS, but using a stack instead of the call stack. Useful when you hit recursion depth limits and can sometimes be simpler to understand at first. Pattern 3 is BFS, or breadth first search, with queue. We covered this in the queue section, process the tree level by level. An example is binary tree right side view. So you use BFS to process each level and track the last node of those levels. The vast majority of binary tree problems are solved with one of those 3 patterns: recursive DFS, iterative DFS, or BFS. And once you internalize that, tree problems become way less scary. Now, trees are great for hierarchical data with clear parent-child relationships, but what if the connections are more complex? What if nodes can connect to multiple other nodes in any direction? What if you're dealing with social networks, dependencies, or maps? That brings us to structure number 7. Number 7, graphs. Graphs are collections of nodes, vertices connected by edges, think social networks, roadmaps, or dependencies. Now, graphs scare people because they feel abstract, but here's the truth. Graphs are just trees without the parent-child structure, and you solve them with the same 2 patterns. Here are the 2 core patterns. Pattern 1, DFS, or depth first search. Explore as far as possible down one path before backtracking. Used for connectivity, cycle detection, and pathfinding. An example, classic, number of islands. Use DFS to explore each island, connect a group of ones, marking visited cells as you go. Pattern 2, BFS, or breadth first search. Explore layer by layer, used for shortest path problems and level order processing. An example is shortest path in an unweighted graph. So you'll want to use BFS starting from the source node. The first time you reach the destination, you found the shortest path. A bonus here is topological sort. This is a special graph pattern for directed acyclic graphs, or DIGs. It's used for dependency resolution. Classic example is course schedule. You have courses with prerequisites. You want to use topological sort to determine if you can finish all courses without circular dependencies. If you can do DFS and BFS on a tree, you can do DFS and BFS on graphs. It's the same logic, just keep track of visited nodes so you don't loop forever. Alright, we've covered 7 structures: arrays, hash maps, stacks, queues, linked lists, trees, and graphs. All of these help you organize and traverse data. But there's one more structure, and this one is special because it's built for a very specific kind of problem. And if you've ever seen find the kth largest or merge k sorted lists, this is the structure you need. Number 8, heaps or priority queues. Heaps are binary tree based structures that maintain a specific order, either max heap, which is largest element at the root, or min heap, smallest element at the root. Heaps are perfect for problems where you need to repeatedly access the largest or smallest element. And here are the 2 core patterns. Pattern 1 is top k elements. Find the k largest or k smallest element in a dataset. An example is kth largest element in an array. Instead of sorting the entire array, which would be O of n log n, use a min heap of size k. Iterate through the array, adding elements to the heap. If the heap exceeds size k, remove the smallest element. At the end, the root of the heap is the kth largest. O of n log k time. Pattern 2, merge k sorted lists. So you want to merge multiple sorted lists into one sorted list. An example is merge k sorted lists. So use a min heap to track the smallest element from each list. Pop the smallest, add it to the result, and push the next element from that list onto the heap. O of n log k time. So if you see top k, kth largest, k smallest, or merge k, reach for a heap. It's the most efficient way to solve those problems. So there you have it. Not 50 data structures, not 2,000 plus LeetCode problems, just 8 core structures that unlock 80% of interview questions. From arrays, 2-pointer, sliding window, prefix sum, hash maps, frequency counting, fast lookups, caching, stacks, valid parentheses, monotonic stack, queues, BFS on trees and graphs, linked list, fast and slow pointer, reversal, trees, DFS, recursive and iterative, BFS, graphs, DFS, BFS, topological sort, heaps, top k elements, merge k sorted lists. Now, here's the thing. Knowing these 8 structures is step 1, but there's a difference between knowing a pattern exists and actually recognizing it in a real interview problem. And that's where deliberate practice comes in. You don't need to grind 2,000 plus random problems. You need to solve 10 to 15 problems for each pattern until you can recognize it instantly. And like I mentioned earlier, if you need someone to check your work, point out inefficiencies, and make sure you're building the right habits, not just memorizing solutions, that's exactly what we do in the Software Engineering Accelerator. So if you want a structured roadmap to master all these data structures with FANG level engineers, check out the top link in the description. And if you're looking for more tips on how to master data structures and algorithms, click this video over here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.